Hello, everybody. Right now, we have with us Devesh Pandey, part of the Voice of the Young series. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Devesh.
Uh, Thank you, Professor, for giving me this opportunity to be a part of this wonderful initiative. I am really elated to uh, to express my views and my perspectives here on this Vidped platform. And before I start telling a bit about myself, I want to express my gratitude for inviting me to this platform and for starting in the first place this initiative because there are a lot of scholars and professionals from various areas who want to share their opinions about their life, the things they are experiencing in their day-to-day environment, and they don't get the opportunity to express their opinions before the wider world. So, but I believe that this platform truly empowers people like us, scholars and professionals, to share our views with the wider public. So, thank you once again, sir, for this initiative. And uh, I think sir has already introduced myself, but to tell a bit more about myself, I am Devesh Pandey, and I am currently working as a PhD scholar at the Department of Medieval and Modern History at the University of Lucknow. Um, for me, like for many people, research is something that they wanted to do from the very start. But in my case, research was something which I accidentally stumbled upon. It wasn't my first area of choice. In fact, I initially wanted to be a civil servant by clearing the civil services exam. And to tell a bit about my journey, I did my schooling from Lucknow. It so happens that many people, since in their high school itself, begin dreaming about what they want to be, what they want to do in their future. For me, it was that I wanted to be a civil servant, mainly because at that time I simply believed that by being an officer at this position, I could help in national growth. I could help tackle the challenges which I saw around myself, whether it was the usual traffic congestion or the issues of pollution. In Lucknow, there's this Gomti River which flows, and it is in a very sad state. So I believe that by wielding enough power, I could actually make some change. So from class 10, I began working on this dream to be a civil servant. And interestingly, that there were others also who wanted to be so, but they also pushed themselves in other fields, in other endeavors by preparing for other exams. Like we have the engineering exams, JEE, we have medical exams like the NEET. But in my case, I was like super focused on only complete on only like cracking this exam. So I didn't prepare for anything else. In fact, I would say that people like during my 11th and 12th, sir, people often taunted me that like, why don't you prepare for these other exams also? Like, why are you only focused on this? Like, do you just want to, clear the boards exam only? Why don't you prepare for the JE or NEET? But I said that first of all, they don't really interest or captivate me. Though I had taken science with economics in my 12th, but I believe that no, I don't want to actually pursue these fields. In fact, I wanted to be a civil servant. So, like I said, that despite the pressure which was, I would say, which was subtly put on me by both my peers as well as the larger academic community at that time, I thought that no, like I'll be focusing on that. So anyway, after clearing my 12th board exams, I had decided to prepare from my own home for this exam, and it was like because of the reasoning that I decided to pursue my graduation from Lucknow itself, from my hometown. So I enrolled in an undergraduate program at the University of Lucknow and decided that while I will be securing my undergraduate degree, I will be also preparing for this exam through coaching. And I believe that 3 years' time would be ample enough for me to develop myself to actually crack this exam well enough. But I think that, that there were like other plans for me because just after completing my first year in undergraduation, COVID struck. And that phase was, I think that we all had, our own stories of being locked away at homes, not able to interact with others, not able to socialize. So that was the case for me as well. Like so basically those last 2 years, it was like being cooped up in the home. Though there was the system of online coaching for preparation, it wasn't like, let's say, it wasn't that much beneficial for me. So I instead resorted to self-studying, and meanwhile also preparing for completing my undergraduation. So after COVID went around 2021, and I completed my graduation as well, I appeared for the first time in this civil services exam. Unfortunately, while I was able to clear the prelims, I wasn't able to go past the mains round. So it was, let's say, disheartening. But I expected that it is a story of many others as well. So I should like continue on this path. Anyway, they were like, I myself believe that simply sticking on this, like, let's say, on this path isn't, like, let's say, very safe. And you should also simultaneously have a backup, so that in case you can fall upon it. So I thought that was okay. So I also began preparing for some exams to enroll myself in masters, in post graduation. But again, like, it was, preparation was, let's say, was okay-ish. So I was able to secure admission only at two places. One was the School of Open Learning at Delhi University, and the another one was again Lucknow University, my alma mater. So it was like, okay, like, the School of Open Learning, like, it didn't again fascinate me. So I thought that I should, like, again get admitted in Lucknow University and prepare for my masters, while I simultaneously, like, as previously, um, begin like preparing once again for my civil services exam. So during the first year, it was basically the same story, preparing for it, doing it, appearing for the exams, but still failing to qualify. So the thing was that it so happened that during, like, at the tail end of my first year in post graduation, there were two major events which I think shaped my, let's say, present circumstances. One was that I got the opportunity to appear for a PhD interview at JNU through the CUET PhD exam. So actually, I had just filled the form. I didn't know that I wasn't actually eligible because I had just completed my first year. So, like, how could they take a student, who had just completed his first year in PhD? But nevertheless, I gave the exam. I got decent enough marks, and fortunately got a call for interview from the JNU. Of course, my chances for getting admitted there were zero, but they were basically zero. But I thought that, like, at least let me go and see what, like, because JNU is among the premier institutes in my field, in the field of history. So I thought that what kind of people, what kind of students come to appear for this interview. So it was more of an opportunity to experience firsthand the, let's say, the PhD process, the JNU ecosystem itself. So I went there. Of course, I had no hopes, absolutely no hopes. But nevertheless, I made a proposal, presented them. Of course, I was very, let's say, critically bashed by the interview panel there. But as I said, it was a learning experience. And like, I would say by nature, I am not very good at socializing. I like to remain confined within the bounds of my own or my own community. So I like basically pushing myself to go beyond my boundaries, to go beyond my natural comfort zone was, let's say, very illuminating, a very enriching experience in this regard. So of course I wasn't selected, but like that experience was very valuable, and it was for the first time that I had a slight inclination towards research. Like, okay, that PhD can also be a, let's say, future career option. Okay, so after, like, let's say, when after beginning second year, as I said, I was preparing for the civil services exam, and I appeared again, and I didn't qualify again. So okay, so I think this phase was, let's say, I would say, a sort of melancholic phase for me, because I had put around 2 to 3 years of efforts, and they weren't giving any substantial results. So I was obviously getting disheartened. But after my experiences at JNU and there, there was sort of a revelation that what exactly am I doing with my life? Like, it's okay that it is good to prepare for these exams, but I was doing it at the cost of my, let's say, of my, socializing behavior, of my enjoying the college days. I was mostly like just attending the classes and then coming home, preparing for, let's say, going through the notes, preparing the books, material, all that. I had virtually no social life or virtually no friends, colleagues, or any sort of like thing which I can call, something which I could tell that contributed to my personal development. So basically, what I thought that it was like, okay, this exam can wait. Like, I was said, okay, this exam can wait, and let's say, enjoy my college years, because even if I get selected once, these days, these years won't come back. So it was during my second year that I, let's say, that I willingly began to interact with others, with my colleagues, with my peers, with my teachers, and found some very, let's say, good friends. We explored our city. They showed me various places. We went to fairs, malls. We enjoyed various festivities, events. In fact, you could say that it was for the first time during my second year in post graduation that I actually enjoyed my college life, those college days. So, like I said, so anyway, and it was also during this time that I began preparing for the NET GRF exam, the exam for securing, fellowship for the PhD. So, like, again, it wasn't that I wanted to go into research. It was that because every one of my friends is preparing, so I should also prepare. I wasn't that much motivated, but nevertheless, I prepared for that. And I would say that miraculously, I was able to clear this exam in my first attempt, in contrast to my experience with the civil services. So it of course gave me some a bit of confidence boost, and I thought that okay, like, but again, like after clearing this exam, also I wasn't that was inclined to into research. I was still, let's say, obsessed about civil services. So anyway, after completing my post graduation, and I would say that this was the third time giving me the civil services, and again I didn't qualify. So it was like again I cannot let this exam, like dictate my life forever. I will be like preparing for it, but I should also look for alternatives. And because I already had this fellowship in my hands, NET GRF, I thought that I should also enroll myself into some PhD course. So I would say for around a whole year, from let's say from around May 2024 to till this May 2025, I was basically, let's say I became an Indian wanderer. Like, I was roaming places, I was going everywhere from the Northeast to West India to South India, basically everywhere, giving PhD interviews at IITs to JNU, DU, everywhere, like which, all those institutes which are considered reputable in this field, in this area of research. But I would say that, like, despite having a fellowship and despite, I will be talking about my research a bit later, but despite having my research on women and war, like, nobody really entertained me. Like, they, because I said that it was both, again, it was a very, let's say, valuable experience interacting with people from various parts of coming from various parts of India, bringing their own ideas and perspectives. But I also saw that, that thing which we call meritocracy, that wasn't really present. Like, uh, everything was, let's say, open, from networking to connections, from like, so basically it was said that while it was something which I believe that I, for the first time, I was able to understand the academia. But nevertheless, I was like, determined that yes, because I have like chosen on this path, I will be moving forward with it. So I was selected at two or three places, but they were like not to my liking. They were also quite distant from my home. So I would say that again, it was, I like, you can call it fate, or you can call it like whatever. I again got myself admitted at Lucknow University in its PhD program. So like, yeah, that is like, I would say, basically condensed from my journey from school to PhD, which I'm like currently pursuing. And um, okay, so like, if I want to talk about like my, let's say, most is interest in research, after clearing the NET GRA fellowship, I was, let's say, my first serious endeavor in research began with my postgraduate dissertation, because I believe in, let's say, doing, every work with, let's say, what do you call that? with sincerity. I like try to do each and every work with sincerity. So I thought that dissertation I should make a dissertation on a compelling topic which also interests me. And while I let's say I have uh, an infinite love for history, but I was like more specifically interested in learning about the political and the military histories, especially which related to war, the causes of war, the events which happened during this war, and the eventual long-term and short-term effects. So, and moreover, the contemporary environment. We all know that there's a lot of volatility going on around the world, the Ukraine, Palestine, Myanmar conflicts, and all that. So basically, naturally, my thoughts went that I should focus on this aspect, on the on what you call as histories of war. So while doing my literature review, I found that work on Indian women during the world wars, because I believe that world wars was something which Indians had much interaction with. So I believe that the role of Indian women during the world wars was pretty much neglected. While there have been recent scholarly works on Indian women's involvement during the Second World War, uh, they are much less understudied during the First World War. In fact, whatever sources or whatever works have been done on Indian women, they are mostly as part of a larger context. Like they are mostly sidelined in favor of soldiers' narratives or the narratives of political groups or revolutionaries. So I believe that Indian women would be a good place to have my dissertation to compile all the perspectives of the Indian women, which belong from the lower, middle, and upper classes, and present them in a let's say in a unified manner while critically analyzing the similarities and differences between the various opinions, their forms of expressions, as well as their lived experiences. So I would say that as a personal appreciation, my that interview panel they told sorry interview panel the dissertation panel, they told me that your dissertation was quite MPhil level. So it was like I would say I consider it myself honor that okay that they can recognize the quality of my work, and like I would say that this motivated me to further research on this topic, on the topic of Indian women during the First World War. So it was on this topic that that I made my proposal and presented it at various places during my PhD interviews. But let's say I gradually realized two things. One was that the arena of, like, let's say, war histories in India isn't that much developed. It's slowly growing, gradually growing, but still it is not that much recognized as compared to political histories or social histories. There's a very limited scope for this area. Secondly, many, let's say, interviewees, I believe that they rightfully claim that, like, from where will you procure your sources? They remark that while a lot of primary material is available in India, much more is available outside and abroad in UK, in the UK and German archives. So, like, they always have bit hesitant that maybe this scholar is trying to, let's say, go abroad. So, like, he must have that potential, that quality. So anyway, they while they also appreciated, I can't tell the appreciation was true or not. That is something which I can't tell. But like, nevertheless, they said that while your topic was certainly interesting and captivating, like we have to sort of pass over it. So basically, I began realizing that despite my interest, there were not many buyers of this proposal in India. And while I did contact some professors from abroad, from UK specifically, they, let's say, they demanded much more, let's say, how I should say, a long-standing history of research and rigor in my proposal, and they believe that you should approach us after a few years, basically. So like I mean that okay, I understand that, but like obviously I can't wait go through through those long years. Besides, again, the current environment makes it made my family a bit apprehensive of sending their son abroad. So all in all, it said that if you have to do your PhD, you have to do it in India itself. So I was like left, okay, then if I have to do my PhD from India itself, fine, no issues. I, like I said, I enrolled myself in the University of Lucknow. And while this area of Indian women and First World War, I have still like researching on this topic. I have not published, but we say I submitted a book chapter on the work of Indian women during the World Wars, and it has been accepted by Routledge. But so like I'm side by side working on this topic, but also I'm focusing on my primary PhD topic, which is about the development of colonial railways in the city of Lucknow. So, like, if someone is pondering why such a dramatic shift from war histories to urban histories, the main reason was that because during my uh, during my study of war histories and the histories of women, I found that a lot of work was done on the role of cities during the wars. And in some places, there were extracts of Lucknow also contributing to the larger wartime narratives, both during the First World, Second World War, and railways as a transportation mode certainly provided the logistical facilities for supplies of troops, people, movements, and all that. So basically, like this, I believe that railways, that the development of railways in the Lucknow could also provide a good topic for research. And after like focusing on this area of urban histories of the development of railways, I found that in the context of India, that cities in the wider network of railways are like largely ignored. Only few works, like there is the work of a scholar named Raghav Kishore on colonial Delhi and the development of railways and traffic management system there. That was the work which impacted me the most. And I believe that if such a work could be done on Delhi, similar work could be done on Lucknow. So basically, like, yeah, that is my research topic, and I will be focusing on the various paradigms, the political perspective, the geographical, social, and economic and social cultural perspective on how railway development influenced the landscape of Lucknow, and how in turn the Lucknowites, the citizens of Lucknow, they also influenced the development and the evolution of railways during this colonial period. So, like I said, it's still a research in progress, but like this will be my PhD thesis. Um, and I like, I believe like this is the end of my, let's say, my talking about research and all that. Like a few words about research that, like during this entire phase when I was struggling to even get an admission into PhD, and now that I'm a PhD scholar, I'm realizing that PhD is like adolescence. That like in adolescence, adolescence is the phase where, according to Rabindranath Tagore, where a person is neither fully a child nor fully an adult, like he's somewhere in the middle with his own confusion of emotions. He doesn't, like, he wants not to be treated as a kid, but he doesn't have that expertise or that ability to
Mm,
be considered an adult.
mm,
So like I said, I similarly believe that PhD is also a similar phase in the academic, in the academic setup,
mm,
because the undergraduate and postgraduates, they
mm.
are usually treated more leniently.
Yeah.
Like while they consider ambitious, but they are certainly like they are said that okay, like even if you make any errors or mistakes, you are still children, we will let you pass.
Mm,
Moreover, when you talk about the postdocs and the professors, they are of course the experts of their field. They
mm,
have a wide array of skills and experience under the belt. So of course they are much more revered. They are much more, their opinions are much more respected. In contrast, PhD scholars are like, they are considered that they are not childish enough to be considered undergraduates or postgraduates, but they are also not mature enough to be considered a truly a researcher.
mm,
So of course there's like, I would say, quite a lot of pressure on them to conform to the standards of research, which is, I would say, both a boon and a bane. A boon in the sense because it helps us to drive forward, to actually cultivate ourselves, not to become stagnant. But on the other hand, too much pressure could, let's say, of course, hinder our growth, hamper our natural growth, I would say. So yeah, so basically, I believe that research is an adolescence, but like adolescence, which is most probably the most productive and fruitful
mm.
period of growth of an individual. This PhD, if one is very careful in, let's say, researching and utilizing this period, it can be the most fruitful and productive period for a person as well. Yes, sir. So
Okay. Thank you, Devesh. I have a curiosity question. Which
yes, sir.
was the first city that Lucknow was connected to by railways? Do you know?
Sir, Lucknow was first connected, I believe, with Allahabad.
With Allahabad.
Yes, sir.
But I mean, it's not connected to Delhi or just to Allahabad first. I mean, was there a line? Do you know what was the line? It was obviously
Yes,
not.
yes, sir.
What was the
It
train
was.
line? Where did it
Yes,
go
sir.
from? And where was Lucknow just a stop? Or I'm curious.
No,
If
no,
you
sir. No, no, yes. Lucknow was a part of what we call the East India Railways,
yeah,
and the line, and at the time, because Calcutta was the capital of British India, so they were naturally more keen on having access from the port towns to the hinterland.
yeah,
So they constructed this company, and they began laying lines from Kolkata to Allahabad and then to Lucknow. I'm sir, like not certainly sure, but I like, let's say, I would say I'm 80% sure, sir, that it was
okay.
Allahabad. Maybe I'm wrong, sir. Of course,
No,
I.
no, okay. So it's Kolkata to Allahabad to Lucknow.
Yes, sir. It was a
Um,
part of the East India Railways. That I can
yes.
definitely vouch, sir.
Okay, no, okay, fine. All right. And I guess you still have to study it, but did it have any impact right away, or it was just not affecting their daily
Uh,
life? Because people from Lucknow would have no reason to normally go to Kolkata at that time, right? So how
yes,
did
sir.
it?
Basically, sir, I would say that Kanpur, which is just, like this is in the neighborhood of Lucknow. So Kanpur was a more important center for the British than Lucknow. In fact, it was the industrial hub, and
Yes,
and was also part of the Grand Trunk Road. So
yes,
they wanted to like lay a line basically from Delhi to through Kanpur to Allahabad and then to Kolkata. Lucknow was added only, I would say, in this mainstream network only around after 1880s, after the completion of the Ganga Bridge, so that railway could cross between the two cities. So yes, like Lucknow, while it had political and military importance for the British, it wasn't that much of an industrial center. So it
right.
was, let's say, neglected for around till the 1890s and to I mean 1890s and 1900s.
Yeah,
But slowly but surely, Lucknow also began to be incorporated within this mainstream network. In fact, I had like yesterday only I was seeing the census data of Lucknow, and while the population growth was relatively stagnant between 1860s and 1920s, after 1921 to 31, there was a like sharp spike in population. So, like, of course, I will have to like research actually like what was the reason behind the sharp spike in population. But I would say my preliminary analysis leads to me to this conclusion that in 1921, Lucknow was made the capital of the United
yeah,
Provinces.
correct.
So yes, sir. So basically, like it was because now the whole administrative and political,
Yeah,
let's say, focus of the British shifted to Lucknow, and so did many of the administrative, the bureaucracy, the administrative personnel also. Besides, people, because whenever administration shifts, also there is this commercial and economic enterprise also shift to that area. There was also completion of the Charbagh station in 1924. So this further added economic incentives around the station. So more migrants and laborers began coming into the city. So yeah, that was the, I would say, economic. That was the reason why, I would say, not completely, but in part a reason why the population of Lucknow began increasing from 1921 onwards, and this trend continued until independence.
yeah,
So exactly like whether it was because of railways or was it only a marginal factor, that is something which I will have to, which I can only tell after doing my research. But yeah, I certainly believe that these railway works and these political events, they certainly were connected to railway development, and they helped develop the colonial landscape, and even its impact can be seen today on Lucknow's city and the general landscape. With the formation of the civil lines, the segregation of the blacks and white communities, still you can see that the civil lines area is much more developed than its just adjacent slum area. Because the slum areas, it was there where these migrant laborers from eastern Uttar Pradesh and Bihar prominently lived. So this area is still it is underdeveloped compared to the more which considered posh civil lines area. So, like, yes, sir, all these are social and economic, I would say, dimensions I'll be exploring in my research.
okay, understood that. But do you have any idea why the British chose Lucknow?
Sir, as the capital,
Yeah,
um,
it wasn't an obvious choice, was it?
I will say not exactly, don't know. Like, why did they actually shift the capital in 1921, sir?
Shifted meaning?
Like, because earlier the capital of United Provinces was Allahabad,
Yeah.
and in 1921 only they shifted the capital to Lucknow.
Oh, I see.
But
So
they kept that
Allahabad
reason.
was the original capital of United Provinces.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Basically, it was something like after the revolt, because the British, they weren't, like they wanted to shift the focus away from Lucknow as
Yeah.
the hub of the mutiny. So
Right.
they decided it better to shift the political administrative focus to other centers. So they shifted to Allahabad. In fact, we can see that's a similar fate befell Delhi, because Delhi was also the hub of mutiny. So it was pretty much neglected till 1911 and 12. Only when the Darbar was held and all that, it was made a
Yeah.
capital again. So it
Yeah.
was a calculated strategy on the part of British
Mm.
to not make these cities much visible in the political landscape
Yeah.
of the nationalist or the emerging resistive forces.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Um, you've talked a lot about your academic and your job hunt and all that. Something on the personal side, maybe?
Sir, like I would say, like what like I have told a lot of, and I think that's quite close to my heart. But like I believe that all these experiences, these experiences which have sort of made and unmade me and all that. So I believe that I would say that the motto which I live with today is carpe diem. Carpe diem is a Latin phrase which means to seize the day.
Yeah.
Basically, it means to live in the present,
Yeah.
not to ponder too much about the past or not to overthink about the future. In fact, there is this memorable quote from, I think, the movie Kung Fu Panda. So the movie states that the past is history, the future is mystery, but what we have today is a gift. That is why it is called present. So
Yeah.
it is this present, this gift, which we should utilize to its maximum,
Mm.
because like whatever is done in the past, it is done.
Yeah.
And as a student of history, I believe that whitewashing or neglecting or simply burying the past, the history isn't correct. Like whatever things you have a person has done, whether the good or the bad, it must not be erased, it must not be neglected, because that also that also has made a person what he or she is now today. So
Yeah.
like why past should not be forgotten, it should not have too much of an impact on our present. And similarly, the future is something which nobody knows what
Mhm.
can happen or what cannot
Right.
happen. So like obviously overthinking about it or ruminating about it too much is fruitless. In fact, I believe that if one actually works in the present, Naresh said, he can certainly improve his future prospects. So,
Mm.
like, if someone, like, for anyone who is like troubled about the future,
Okay. We had hit an internet glitch, so I paused it. I'm back out of the pause. So continue, Devesh.
so from where to continue, like the whole thing or just the
No, no, just
last
what you were
portion?
saying about the future, the mist, that part that you
Okay,
are
sir.
living
So
in today.
yes, sir. So, like, sir, basically the philosophy is that we should not overthink what are the future holds. In fact, for anyone who is worried about the future too much, I will only say that just work on the present, because if you actually cherish, if you nourish, if you actually let's say be active in the present, you can certainly improve future prospects. If you don't do anything in the present, of course your future will be nothing. That is 100% sure. But if
Yeah.
you actually work on your present, if you act, and it doesn't just mean like just to grind, just to struggle. It means to actually enjoy whatever you're doing. Of course there
Mm.
will be struggles, there will be things which don't please us.
Mm.
Like sir, just to tell, like just this evening I received a mail to a journal where I had sent my research paper, and they rejected it. Basically, like whatever rejection they're saying that you should improve upon it and all that. So of course that didn't, like, of course, made me happy. But that was a learning experience, that okay, fine, I will like do whatever improvement suggestions they have
Mm.
said,
Mm.
and with much more refinement, and after polishing it I will present it to other journals. So like these things also, these I would say setbacks, these failures, they're also a part of this process. And while
Yeah.
it is natural to feel disheartened, it is like just a part of the process. You have to just go with the flow, just do things.
Okay.
So that's all from my side.
Okay, that's quite a bit of wisdom there. I think we are running a bit out of time now. So let me say that final word from you, Devesh. What is it, the message that you want to send to the world or to young people? What is it in your mind that's a message?
My message is, I would say, in very simple terms, it is to live a balanced life, to not to overexert yourself, not to remain stagnant. Just like, let's say, and doesn't just mean physically. Like, of course, we should always should exercise ourselves, but also means mentally that we should not put our hands into too many things, not just sit idle. We should plan things around, like how much we can intake, because every person has his or her own individual capacities. So based on that, you should decide what you have to do, what you are really want to do, what you're passionate about, and based on that, create a balance between your needs, between your desires, and between what you can actually do. So, like, that is my, I would say, a bit of a message to lead a balanced lifestyle.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much, Devesh. Let's end it here. I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. Till then, bye, everybody.